Okay, so if we look at our directions on number 9, it tells us the first thing that we have to do is to graph each function by making a table of values. So I'm going to make my table of values using x is -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So here I've got my table of values, x and y. So -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Now what this means is wherever I see x, I'm going to plug in -2. So -2 cubed minus 4 parentheses, -2 squared minus 7 parentheses, -2 plus 10. And now I want you to go ahead and enter this in your calculator over here. So as long as you put parentheses around every term, you can just enter this whole thing in all at once. So we have parentheses, -2, close parentheses, and I want to do that to the third power, minus 4, parentheses, -2, close parentheses, and I need that squared, minus 7, parentheses, -2, plus 10. And I get my answer, my first term, as 0. So go ahead and take a moment to plug this in. Now, if I took and I were to copy this and come down here and plug it in again, I can just go back and change these values now for 1, and I can see what my new answer will be. Again, I'm going to do this for 0. And I just enter this in the first time. I make sure that I use good parentheses and I've calculated everything correctly. And then I can just go through and enter these all in at once. So as you can see over here, I've done -2, -1, 0, 1. I'm going to change all of my terms to 1, and that gives me another term. I can see here where my zeros are going to be. And we'll do 2 for our last term. Now we're going to come over to our graph here, and we're going to write these table of values. Let's make sure that we can see all of them. I can't see the -2, so we'll just remember that one. The -2 is 0. Okay. So over here, -2 was 0, -1 is 12, 0 was 10, 1 is 0, and 2 is -12. Okay, so our next step is to determine the consecutive integer values of x between which each real 0 is located. Well, I can actually see where my real 0 is located here. I've got a 0 at x is equal to -2, and I have a 0 at x is equal to 1. And my last is estimate the x-coordinates at which my maximum and minimum will occur. Well, look here. Right here I can see that I have a maximum right around this point because I went from 0 all the way up to 12, then it turns around and starts decreasing. So this point right here is going to be a maximum. And when I go over here, down here, this point is going to be a minimum. Now I can graph each one of these coordinate pairs, or I can come over here and look at this graph and see what I have. So what happens when I plug this in? Well, let's look at the graph. X to the third. Again, if you get stuck up into the exponent, you just need to hit your right arrow key over, and that'll take you out of the exponent.
So here's our graph, and as we can see when we look at this graph, it crosses at the point of x is equal to 1, which we saw right here when we graphed it, and x is equal to negative 2. And we look over here at our table of values, x is equal to negative 2 was one of them, and x is equal to 1. We look at our graph and we can see that that's a true statement.